Welcome back to Z to Z. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. I am your host, Louis Picasso. We have another great show for you today. We are now at episode 6. If you're a first-time listener to this podcast, we are a franchise podcast that is focused on providing information for Zees by Zees. So during Hispanic Heritage Month, I've had the honor to speak to several Hispanic Zees. Jaime Sanchez, CEO of Interlink, and a Z himself of Kitchen Tune-Up. We also spoke to Eduardo Reyes, a Z of Footprints Flooring, and Anthony Ayala, a Z for F45 CrossFit, who, by the way, has agreed to have Z to Z follow his first-year journey as a new Z. So as we conclude our Hispanic Heritage Month series, I have the pleasure of speaking to Javier Solis, a friend and entrepreneur, a fellow Hoya from Georgetown University, a franchise management graduate, and the East Coast Division COO for Toro Taxes, the largest Hispanic-owned and operated tax preparation franchise in the nation. He and his team have made a difference in leading and defining the path for more Hispanics to start a business utilizing the Toro tax franchise model. I'm excited to talk to him, so let's get started. Javier, my friend, I am honored to have you today on Z to Z. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent, Louis. Thank you very much for having me in your show, for providing all this information to so many entrepreneurs that are interested in becoming franchisees, franchisors, and just being part of the franchise industry.
Right. And you know what really makes this even special, this interview for me special, you just told me you're the co-chair and co-founder of the Hispanic Leadership Council for the International Franchise Association.
Yeah, man. It's something that it's not only me, but it's a nice group of entrepreneurs, part of the franchise industry, that put their brains together and the energy to actually get it done. So we are really, really excited because this is once again another milestone for all our community.
You know, I mentioned this in our conversation. You and I both went to Georgetown University, studied franchise management, and we put a lot of work and effort into doing that. Dr. Ben Latalian, the professor there at Georgetown, I remember something specifically he told me. He goes, Louis, and he told me this outside of class. He says, Louis, there is a large Hispanic community that is out there that is in need of somebody to start the process of providing information for the Hispanic population to get into franchising and get into the business of franchising. And I always took that with me. I always had that in my heart to do. And this show, Z to Z, is that door for me personally to do that. Now hearing you as a co-chair, co-founder of this Hispanic Leadership Council, sir, it is amazing that you so much you've accomplished. And I mean, we could probably spend an entire allocated time of today's meeting or interview talking about your professional background, but give us a summary of where you started and where you're at today.
Oh no! Well, it's been a long journey, and it's been fruitful. I came to this country in '89. My first tax season was 1990. That's when I started preparing tax returns.
Right.
For people, with my family, friends. In 2000, I opened my first office in Brooklyn. By 2005, I had close to 3,000 clients. And it was only a nice marketing strategy to our Latino community. I was all over the place providing the service to the Latino community. And then at that time, I wanted to be part of something Latino. I wanted to be like a part of a Latino franchise, Latino Tax Preparers Association, but there was nothing. Okay, so I started doing some research. You know, when you have a brand new idea, they don't give you money. So I started to banks, they throw the doors on my face. But as a Latino, I always say, the no is not an option for me. So I raised my own money. It took me 2 years to raise the money to start the first Latino franchise of tax preparation in the nation. Back then it was Los Taxes. And that's how I started in 2007 as creating Los Taxes as the first Latino franchise of tax preparation.
You know, Javier, I don't know. I think we may have told you this, and just a little back history for our listeners. I've been involved with Toro Taxes since the beginning, well, almost since the beginning, with the CEO, Nick Maldonado, and with one day we'll have him on the show as well. And Javier, I think I may have mentioned this, and that either I or Nick may have told you this, but one time we were flying from Las Vegas. I think we were flying over to New York. In the plane, we were looking at strategies and how we can grow the business and grow the brand, right? And so I was doing my research. I was sitting next to Nick, and I said, Nick, listen, there's this Hispanic tax franchise in the New York area called Los Taxes. We really should talk to these guys. We really should talk to them. Well, Javier, the rest is history.
Wow. Now, you know what? The thing is that you always, when you have a business, the first thing that you do is you start researching your competition. So I knew of Toro Taxes and all the great marketing strategy that they had on the West Coast. And I said, wow, these guys are doing a really good job. But I never thought that in one dinner, I will have Nick and Oscar sitting next to me. Sometimes life is funny and life itself puts people together when you have the same mentality.
Right. And that is great to know that it all evolved into what it is today. Toro Taxes is a national brand. It's one of the largest tax preparation franchises in the country. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was again, that was one of the things that we Nick and I went through in those days, because one of the big role models in the franchise industry, Mr. John Hewitt. He was out of Liberty Tax back in 2018, and he wanted to start the third tax preparation franchise focused on the Latino market. Okay, so he reached out to us, to Nick, to me, and he wanted to put together the franchises. And honestly, I've been in the franchise industry for so many years, in the tax industry for over 30 years. And we thought that we had enough experience, credentials to do this on our own. So in 2019, we got together, and it took 2 weeks to come to an agreement and to start this new project, which was Toro Taxes franchise. We changed a little bit, because it was before it was Toro Taxes franchising, and now it's Toro Taxes franchise. I said, we are going to start a new entity, a new everything, and that's how we started. And believe me, it's been the best decision I made, but it was not easy, because I already created a brand on the East Coast. Okay, so letting a brand go after 12 years of hard work, of having all our franchisees with the brand, the identity, and all that stuff, it was not easy. So thanks God, my wife is kind of my support. She and I were praying every night on the decision that we will make to let the brand go and adopt a new name, a new identity. So it was not easy with us. It was not easy with my franchisees, because they needed to now change everything in their stores, colors, the logo, and it was another challenge, sitting down with each one of them and telling them, listen, this is gonna be a good move. It's gonna be much better for us. We are gonna be doing this, and all that stuff. So I'm really humbled to say that they follow my leadership, and all of them became part of Toro Taxes franchise. We didn't have one franchisee to go, because one of the requirements when you merge, you have to give your franchise the options to leave. Okay, and I'm so happy that nobody left the system. Everybody followed my leadership, and we became part of this new familia Toro Taxes franchise.
Yeah. And that familia that you mentioned is the most important aspect of any franchise brand that you can that you can have. Especially when it's going through a transition like Los Taxes and Toro Taxes was. When you're merging, you really have that foundation as your franchisees. And I know in this show on Z to Z, we talk a lot more about the Z's and what makes them successful within a franchise organization. In this case, your situation, that transition, and the fact that your franchisees followed you, and like you said, followed the direction, your leadership, is a testament to what you were doing as a franchisor. Am I right?
Oh, definitely. And I've always been transparent with my franchisees. From the beginning, I wanted to do something different where not only one person will grow as the owner of the franchise, but all those who believed in you. Okay. Now you can say, okay, Toro Taxes has over 250 units in 30 states. Yeah. Now we've grown. Okay. But at the beginning, those 5, 7 people that believed in you, they believed because they believe as a person, not because you had a history of developing a franchise or anything like that. They believed in me as a person, and it was extremely important for me to follow my leadership and believe that whatever we are growing, it's going to be for the betterment of everybody in the franchise system.
Right. And that right there again is a testament not only to the brand but the leadership of the franchise itself. Being a franchisee, yes, you got to do your proper due diligence. You got to make sure you're right, that you're making the right decision, not only for yourself but for your family. I say that all the time. But you have to create a trust and acceptance, and a lot of prayers that you trust the leadership of that organization, that they're going to make the right decision that's going to be best for you. And watching those franchisees being excited and happy to be a business owner for the first time, and being not only excited for being a business owner, but being a Latino and a Latina, such a proud moment for some. And it was really exciting to see. So
I just want to mention something, because many franchisors will have this in mind, to see that eventually they might want to merge with another franchise. Okay, and what would be the consequences of that merge, especially with the current franchisees? We had a couple of franchisees that were really upset, but they were upset because they were in love with the brand already. Okay, they were defending the brand, and they were like, Javier, I've been growing this brand for 10 years. There was nobody with Los Taxes in this area. Now you got like 15 different stores. And I put my money, I put my time, and I put so much energy to grow this brand. And now you're telling me that we have to change it?
yeah, it's not easy.
No,
It's not
and I
easy.
told them, I say, listen, if you feel like that, imagine how I feel, because this was my baby. Okay,
Right.
it's not easy to let something that I created go. And they were like, oh yeah, I mean, you created this. And so it was good, but you need to make that decision, take that first step to really change, and prove your leadership with the rest of your franchisees to follow you. It's really important.
Right. No,
And
I agree 100%. And that must have been so difficult for you to sit down with each one of those franchisees and tell them what the plan was going to be. Because yeah, I mean, a large percentage was behind you, was, gonna step up and say, okay, Javier, where do we go? But then I'm sure that, like you said, there was those one or two or three or whatever that amount of people were that were not so much, not too happy about the decision. But again, going back to what I'm saying is that trust, you built that trust.
yeah,
Yes, asking questions, asking the right questions, and pushing back a little bit. That's good. That's good rapport. That's good dialogue. And that's open communication. Like you said earlier, you were fully transparent in what you were going to do. So all those elements helped you to get through to where you're at today. And like I said, it must have not been easy for you. I remember during that process being at the office in Las Vegas where Toro Taxes, the corporate office, is at. And I remember us going through that discussion with Nick and you guys coming in and making it happen. And it was a very proud moment for each side. So again, good job, guys. But and I think that's, like I said, the question that I asked is, there's a lot of, obviously the Latino population is growing immensely here in the United States. As a matter of fact, I believe we are the fastest and largest minority in the United States now. And so that makes us a really powerful minority group. But unfortunately, and I know this has changed a lot, but unfortunately, there hasn't been that many Latino folks that are making that next move and getting them to that next move. Javier, what do you think sometimes prevents or discourages some Latinos to avoid being successful, or maybe not avoid being successful, but just avoid taking that next step towards success as a businessman or woman?
there is we as entrepreneurs need to do a lot of role modeling and being available to all these entrepreneurs, Latino entrepreneurs that are coming into the game. Sometimes you get discouraged. Believe me, I closed businesses, I filed bankruptcy, but not everybody has that little thing that motivates you to move on. Not everybody is built
Right.
to move on. And those, I guess, those are the things that you need to explain to them. You need to be on their faces in different programs, perhaps, like this one. Sometimes it's not easy to make it, and
Yeah.
you get discouraged. But
Yep.
we all were there. We I went through so much, and my book, it's up to you. It tells the way, all the things that I went through, including with my wife that had a cancer and she lasted 15 months. All those things that come to your life, it's not easy to deal with, but it's up to you to move on. Because if you decide to just keep thinking on why this happened to me, why my business is not growing, why, you are not gonna find an answer. Okay, you just need to move on and keep changing what you are doing. Don't continue doing the same thing. Change it, because that's the only way that you will find a way to improve your business and get along with your mastermind. You have to start hanging out with the right people, because those are the ones that you're going to be looking up to and say, wow, I mean, I want to be like these people, Start looking at the bios of all those wealthy entrepreneurs, what they did, what they went through. And that's the only way that you will start changing. The books that you read will also change your mentality. One of the books that I loved, it's the E-Myth Revised. That changes your mind on how you are running your
Right.
business.
Right.
And it's not reading once, it's reading 2 3 times, so you could really understand and
Yep.
get control of your business. So it's basically that, reading good books and hanging out with the right people that will inspire you to change what you're doing.
And I think this is why you as the co-founder and co-chair for the Hispanic Leadership Council for the International Franchise Association is important. I think because this is gonna take the mission of educating the Latino population into not only becoming successful themselves, but becoming successful within the franchising system. I always would say to myself, God, if they all knew the power of franchising, how much more they can be successful in what they're doing. Because we as Latinos are very hardworking. We're hardworking people. We're persistent. And so, so putting that in combination to the franchise model, my goodness, we could really dominate the business world. You will see a lot more wealthier Hispanic population, and that's the goal. And I believe through the Hispanic Leadership Council not only is to educate and inspire, but to provide wealth. Again, commend you for being the co-founder of the Hispanic Leadership Council. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to do that. Going back and focusing on our Zees is, talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned to me the trust that you developed and the transparency you developed with your franchisees when you developed your first brand, Los Taxes. Tell us now in general, what do you think, how does a good franchisor, or specifically Toro Taxes, support their franchisees towards that success? Can you give us an example?
No, definitely. And as I mentioned it to you, our Z's are the ones that are making a reality the fact that Toro Taxes exists. Okay, so without franchisees, we are nothing. And we need to give our franchisees the tools, the resources to do what they wanted from us, which is make money. Okay, change their lifestyle, and also making sure that we are being transparent. Okay, that all the royalties that they pay, those are royalties that they are supposed to pay. Okay, all the marketing fund that they are putting into, it's actually being used to promote their offices and all that stuff. So the first thing that we did, and it was part of the certification as a franchise executive from the IFA, was to put together our franchise advisory board. Okay.
Right.
And the franchise advisory board is basically working with the executives on the important items the franchise has, and how we are really using all these resources to make sure the franchisee is the one that is benefiting from the collection of all these marketing fees in that case. Okay, so for the last few months, we've been having monthly meetings with them. They are giving us a lot of great ideas on what they want to see for our Toro Conf in December. So they are part of the franchise. They are not isolated, because when we used to talk to our franchisees, say, you know what, we are here, we are in Delaware, we are in Arizona, and we don't know nothing on what you guys do. Now they have a voice from themselves. Okay, and that's something that they love it. The other, and I'm glad that you mentioned Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben is making a great franchise guru. You know how he is.
Oh yeah.
And, through the last course that I took a few weeks ago in Georgetown, I also learned about the tools that now we have to give our franchisees to increase profit. Okay, we didn't have what I put it together a few weeks ago. What is the field executive? Field profit executives. Okay, and those are 10 people that we are hiring nationwide to start working with each of our franchisees on the management of their tax center and the marketing. Okay, how they are going to have a presence in all the social media, how they are going to start pushing their clients to give them a 5-star reviews, all the things that a business needs, but unfortunately they are not able to do because they are working. They are running their business. They are sitting there preparing tax returns. All the things that they are not able to do, this group of executives are going to be doing it for them. So
Right.
you see these new tools, new resources that are given to our franchisees, and then they realize that you know what, I'm on the right place, because they are working together with me to give me what I need to increase my profits.
Right. And you know what? It's so true, because I worked with several brands in my past. And a lot of these brands, Javier, stay stagnant. They don't provide the tools necessary. Things change, climates change, markets change, the business cycle changes, and you're going to have to follow along with those changes and pivot sometimes to add either different programs or, like you said, other tools, and create tools that's going to help and support the franchisees. And that has been my biggest problem with franchising as a whole, is that sometimes we stay stagnant. Sometimes we get comfortable as a franchisor, and we're following our path, but we forget what our legs are doing. And the legs of the franchise are the franchisees themselves that are moving the brand along. And sometimes those legs get tired. They get tired. They get angry, and they retaliate, and they don't want to move anymore. And then next thing, you got another big problem, right? So that is great that you're looking at this, field executives. We used to call them in our day franchise business consultants. I was a franchise business consultant at one point and supporting that, but we always supported on the basis of the franchisor, and what they needed to follow based on what the franchisor recommendations were. And you're talking a little bit about working in their business and for them while they're doing what they do best, and why they chose to be a taxpayer with, or tax franchisee with Toro Taxes. So that is great that you're making that move into providing the tools necessary for them to succeed. Because again, most franchise organizations, they say they do that, but they really are not doing that.
No.
So that's fantastic that you guys are getting to that point. So when you're looking at a potential franchisee, you get a lot of those. You've seen them. What is it? What characteristics are you looking for that they're going to need to really get to the next level, and really, because as you know, going through the franchise process, or the franchise onboarding process, it's a matter of interviewing, and it's like an interview. It's like interviewing for a job in a sense, and because you got to have that you got to build that trust, and you got to reflect, what your capacities are, and I always said you got to do a self SWOT analysis. What is your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and of course what threats you have, right? So what characteristics do you think that you would like to see in somebody that is interested in becoming a franchisee with your brand?
Louis, in our case, we focus on the Latino market. Okay,
Right.
we are focused on those 70 million Latinos that represent 20% of our U.S. population. And when you are targeting this market, the culture, it's totally different to any regular franchisor. Okay,
Right.
and we've seen that with some of franchise brokers. Okay,
Right.
now you know our culture. You're part of the culture, so
Right.
it was easy for you at the beginning
Right.
to penetrate that and make the sales and make the presentations, because you knew the culture. Okay,
Right.
we did. I hired an Anglo consultant with, man, he had like over 25 years experience in the franchise industry as a franchisor, franchisee, regional developer, consultant. He had great credentials. Okay,
Right. Right.
and in the year contract that we had, he couldn't sell one franchise because he couldn't understand the culture.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so one of our main items, I guess, it's understanding what Latinos are in the United States. Okay, and we have franchisees who are not Latino, but they understand the power of the Latino community as a consumer, as a community to really go after the services. Okay.
Right.
Now, with the technology and what's going on with tax preparation, the tax preparation industry, we see a lot of self doing tax systems. Okay, and people say, listen, everybody's going to be using their taxes online. They are not going to need a tax preparer. In our case, it's different with the Latino community, and you know that,
Right.
because coming to a tax office, it's like an annual event for the family.
Yeah.
Everybody comes there
Yes.
because it's the largest
Yes.
check that they get in the year.
Yeah.
Right, so it's an event, a family event. They are not gonna go in there on the website and start putting all the information, because they want that contact with the person. They
Right.
want to tell you what happened throughout the year. They want to tell you that one of the kids got married. They're going to tell you all those things. So it's not only providing the services, it's establishing a very strong relationship with the
Right.
clients. And you need to understand that as a culture.
Yep.
Okay, so
100% agree. 100% agree. And not all franchisors, though, have the luxury of having an Hispanic leader, with that, let that be a CEO or whatever. They don't have that luxury of having that. And so there's a hesitation for them to explore into the Hispanic community. I've heard many franchisors, I've heard many people that work within a franchisor system that says, we wish that we can get into the Hispanic community. We just, don't know how to communicate with them and don't understand the culture. And that's because they haven't internalized it. Once you internalized it, then you're going to be able to better explore that opportunity in the Hispanic population. But not until then. There is many franchise organizations out there that would love to penetrate that particular market, but just don't have the ability to, because they haven't internalized it. And I think this is the difference, where franchisors like Toro Taxes, they're what, 99.8% Latino in
yeah.
the entire organization, and so they have a deep understanding of that culture. And I think for franchisees going into a brand and picking a brand, and is especially in the Latino community, is not to say that a non-Latino based franchise organization is not going to be a good fit. It most likely can and will be. But if a franchisee is looking for that understanding and that cultural understanding, and they want to feel like what they say, su casa, mi casa, they're probably going to have to go and look for a franchise like Toro Taxes, and focus on that type of brand, because as a franchisee, you're looking for a fit. You're looking, and again, I'm going to reiterate this. Any brand out there, no matter what culture you are, can attract many great franchisees. You just have to, the franchisee has to do their due diligence and find that match, find that connection, right? But again, more depending on that type of franchisee, they're going to say, you know what, I'm more comfortable with the culture that this particular franchise is offering me, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly okay. I've known many true Hispanic people that have been very successful in a non-Hispanic Latino based franchise organization that have grown and become very, very successful in with that particular brand. But again, it's important to understand what that culture looks like, right?
No, definitely, and you are so on point, because we've seen several brands that tried something new with the Latino community. Liberty Tax, I think, opened Siempre Tax.
Yep.
And from the name, I knew that there was something wrong because nobody wants to be taxed always. You know, I mean, you want. So and then so an Anglo executive was in charge of the franchise. They lasted
Yep.
like maybe 2 or 3 tax seasons only. And you're right. You know, the person needs to know the culture. They need to know, and it's not about speaking Spanish because people think that okay, I know Spanish. It's more than that. It's really learning the culture. You need to know what's different between a taco, a pupusa, a ceviche, and all those things that culturally make us different.
Stop it.
And
You're making me hungry, Javier. Yeah, and that is all that is so true in a lot of things that we do as a potential business owner. We just want to find that right fit, and that's what we do here at Z to Z is we help potential franchisees. We help franchisees that are in a particular system to really understand how important these little things are. Um, you know, you say, well, hey, how much is this, and how much is their franchise fee, and what do their royalties look like, and what does their marketing fee looks like, and tell me a little bit about that. Well, that's all great, and that's all important. But what's really important is you're going to be dedicating, on average, 7 to 10 years. That's an average amount of a franchise agreement of
Yep.
your time and your hard-earned money on this brand. You better darn make sure that it's not only is a fit financially for you, but it's a cultural fit for you as well. I can't press that enough to our franchisees out there that are listening. Make sure that you find a cultural fit. Make sure that you find that trust, and you can feel that trust, and then you can say, you know what, I can spend 7-10 years doing this, and it could be longer because you have the option to renew after your particular initial term. So it could be longer, right? And so, I mean, we can go on and on and on and on and on about this, Javier. I'm gonna end with the question that I always end with, and I always ask everybody, all of my guests on the show: what makes a good Z?
Man, easy. A successful Z needs to be coachable. Once you are coachable and you follow the system, your unit, believe me, will be very, very successful. Okay. Unfortunately, we have some franchisees that challenge the system, especially when you are in the industry as a franchise for so many years, and when you see that a franchise started as a tax preparer, okay, and then they purchased next year the first franchise. 2-3 years later, they purchased 2, 3, 4 franchises. And after 5 years, that franchisee calls you crying, telling you, Javier, I just purchased the building where I put my first franchise. Okay. When you see franchisees like that, you know the system is working. And all we need from our franchisees is to be coachable and follow that system because we know it works. We know it will be successful, and your life and your family's life will change for the better.
That is great. That is great. Following the model, being approachable, being coachable. Those are all great advice to our listeners out there who are looking into getting into a franchise. Those are words of wisdom. Those are words of experience. Javier, I want to thank you for being on the show, sir. It's been a great pleasure. I am so looking forward to hearing more. The Hispanic Leadership Council, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for a lot of Latinos to understand and to explore franchising much more in depth. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
No, definitely. And you said it. Latinos are hardworking people. With this council, we are not going to educate those hardworking people, those Latino with their business concept to become franchisors. That's the purpose of this Hispanic Leadership Council from the International Franchise Association. Louis, thank you very much, man. You're doing a lot for our franchise industry. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. It's always great to speak to Mr. Solis. I hope that you were able to take a bit of information to use on your franchise journey. Remember to check out all of our new and previous episodes at Z2Z.com. That's www.z2zee.com. And please don't forget to subscribe to Z2Z on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for listening. Remember, success is a matter of opinions, so make those opinions matter to others. We'll see you next week.